I can't think of a better way to spend my birthday today than talking about Outlander with you guys.
Birthday, Heather.
Happy birthday, Heather.
Thank you. Thank you. In my house, I start talking about Outlander. Everyone walks away. So this is
We flock to you.
yes, I love it. I love
Yes,
it.
we do flock to you. I said after last week, this is the best way to spend a Sunday morning.
There you
after,
go.
pancakes with my kids.
Of course, of course. 2 years ago at this time, I was just coming off a trip from Scotland and it was amazing. And I'm so glad that my kids also got a chance to experience it. So I'd give to be back there for another birthday. So everyone good? Happy Sunday.
Yeah. Happy Sunday. We're good.
Excellent. All right. So we're here to talk about season 8, the final season of Outlander, episode 2 called Prophecies. And we didn't talk about this last week, but wanted to know your thoughts on the Annie Lennox version of the theme song. Anyone?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start. I love it. I just love the sound. It just evokes like such a feeling in me that I'm just like drawn to it. I get chills when I hear it. And I'm having my husband watch this season with me, even though he hasn't watched all of Outlander. And he's the kind of person that typically skips the intros. And I'm like, no, you cannot skip because I really want to hear this song. So I really think it's one of the best ones. So I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find it to be kind of haunting. And
Totally.
I love Annie Lennox. I'm a huge fan of hers, but there's something about that her version that kind of creeps into my body. And before I've even gotten to the first part of the episode, I'm already feeling like almost like kind of stressed and like ready to go, but it definitely bubbles up some feelings.
Yeah, she's able to capture something that's both very ethereal and also, I don't know if grounding is the right word, but her voice it's a little huskier, it's a little raspier, as she's gotten older. So she's just able to evoke this sort of spookiness. Like it's beautiful, but it's also scary, it's also foreboding. So it's a combination of all of those things.
I almost felt like there was so much drama within the recording studio. You can almost picture all of them doing a big gasp at the end and everyone crying, because it must have been so moving just recording it,
Absolutely. Very emotional, I would think.
When I saw the premiere in New York 2 weeks ago and they played it in the theater, and knowing that the cast was watching it too, and everyone was silent during that part, and really, like, I'll make sure to definitely watch it for each episode. I'm not skipping past it. It's got that feeling. And there's a little part of me that hopes that in the final episode, they go back to the original one, just as like a kind of a nod and a bookend, if you will. But I would be okay if they didn't, just think that'd be kind of cool. All right. So many storylines in this episode. I haven't read the books, so I did not know that the bear attack was coming. And so I think that was the most heartbreaking scene that we got to see. And poor Amy. I mean, the second you say how much you love your life and how great things are going, you feel like, oh boy, this is not going to be good for Amy. Yeah.
I actually wanted to ask Tracy and Heather, as non-book readers, how did that scene come across to you? Because my husband was shocked. He thought it completely came out of left field. And I mean, it literally did. The camera pans left and there's the bear. So how did you guys receive that?
Well, so for me, I'll maybe a little different than for Heather. Like in the past, I have really avoided book spoilers, but I had seen, I didn't know who it was going to be, but I did know that there was going to be a bear attack. So when I saw the bear in, the beginning, I knew that this was the episode where that was going to happen, but I didn't know who it was going to be and what that was all going to entail. And it was pretty dramatic and pretty straight. I mean, even not knowing, that much about it, I was still like, oh my gosh, like they just literally had this bear come out of nowhere and, attack her face and maul her.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually, what I was explaining to my husband is that in the books you have mountain lions, you have bison, you have bears, you have people dressed as bears. Remember that one from a couple seasons back?
Jamie's the bear killer.
Jamie is the bear killer. So, you sort of have to remember that you're in the North Carolina backcountry and it's wild and anything can kind of happen at any moment. So I like the fact that they brought in that sense of unpredictability and that sense of, 1 minute you're here and the next minute you're not.
Yeah. And Rachel says that to Ian, right? Like when she's kind of, she seems like she's still in shock. She's obviously grieving, but she looks at Ian and she sort of basically says, we were just all there together. It could have been any of us.
Which I think holds true for anything that you go through. You when you hear something tragic happen in the news, you go, oh my God, I was just there. How did that, So we can definitely relate to that. The bear being in the intro definitely kind of gave me some, like, we're going to see a bear, something's going to happen. I was afraid more that it would be Rachel. But there's an old Star Trek thing where they called it Ensign Expendable, where there's the other guy that not everyone cares about as much as the other characters. And that's always going to be the one that gets killed off. So I was like, oh, poor Amy, who was Ensign Expendable, like.
Well, when you think back, it's like it makes more sense as to why they introduced her again last week. And
it's so lovely to see you. You look so well.
You're remarried. Things are great.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Diana comes in and says, no.
Says no. I did like the juxtaposition. And I mean, Diana's so good at this as a writer. And then the writers of the episodes are so good at this, where you have a death and you have a birth in the same episode. And you also have the family as witness to the death and the birth. And you think, you would never have a small child like that see their mother in that condition, with injuries like that to her face. But that was life back then.
Right.
And then you have the opposing scene, which is beautiful, with Rachel giving birth and Fanny is watching it, and her reaction is a bit mixed because, as she said, childbirth in a whorehouse wasn't exactly something to be celebrated.
No, right. It wasn't a welcome event.
It wasn't a welcome event. Like,
yeah.
So that was it was like a great juxtaposition of those two scenes.
Yeah. And so for a show that's so graphic, we didn't see the bear actually attack her, although we did see her wounds afterwards, which seemed to be pretty, gory. And we also didn't see a birth this time, which I fully expected to see the pushing and everything. And the fact that, like, they were like, oh, baby, I was like, oh, okay, we're moving through this. Yeah. So as far as the bear itself, and they go out on a hunt, right? And they go out to find the bear, and then they arrive on the scene where Cunningham has already killed this bear. Jamie had a look of very sus on his face.
Well,
so
what's that about?
Language.
Jamie has very strong opinions about how things are to be done. And which is why he wanted Amy's son to come, because he basically said it was either his kill or, the husband's kill, right? And that they would track it, they would find it, but they would get to avenge her death, right? And make sure that this bear couldn't attack anyone else. And you've got Cunningham, who, in his mind thinks he's doing the right thing, but this is not his land. He is not in charge. So
he's not Cunningham's Ridge.
And I think that Jamie is sort of challenged by that. And, and also I think he realizes that, he never told Cunningham, so you can't get super angry with him in that moment.
Right.
He's just kind of taking it all in, but it's kind of a challenge to Jamie, totally. to go and do that on your own without telling him that he was going to do that, I thought. So you can see that there's going to be friction between the two of them.
Yeah. So it wasn't it wasn't really that he didn't believe that he killed him, the bear. It was more like, okay, yeah.
I see you.
You didn't really check in with me, but it's okay.
Right.
But good for
I got my eyes on you.
Who doesn't say anything. He's waiting. He's biding his time to intervene. So he's kind of taking it in stride, but filing it away for when he needs to bring it out and if and when there is a challenge.
Right. All right, so let's go, since we're talking about Cunningham, let's talk about him in general. They make a connection that they're Freemason, thing, and they all get together in a gathering place. And then there's that scene where Cunningham tells a story about his life and about Simon. And, we need to also acknowledge Katrina's directorial debut. And I thought that scene in particular, where he's just telling a story about Simon and how it's just the single shot of him and it's moving closer and closer, and drama and lighting. It was just so beautiful. I was like, oh, that's her work. Nice job.
Definitely. No, I think we need to give major props to Katrina for directing this episode. I think first, I know we're making such a big deal out of it, and we should be making a big deal out of it. It felt seamless. It didn't feel like, oh, this was a totally different take on things. It felt like one of the truest Outlander episodes, I think, across all of the seasons. But what I do think the flair that I feel like Katrina added to it was you felt like you were really in the room in each of those scenes. I felt like she was like the camera was such an intimate part of those scenes without being intrusive. And it made you as the viewer feel like you could have been a Freemason sitting next to Jamie in that scene, or you were at the bedside when Izzy gave birth, or you were with Claire and Elspeth when they were taking care of Amy's body.
Yeah. I also found that it wasn't choppy. Like, there are some episodes in the past that I've felt very disjointed. I don't know if that's an editor thing. Is that a director thing? I don't know. And so I found the flow to this episode to be really nice, and it didn't feel disjointed to me, and it kind of all flowed together. So I thought that was really nice.
I would agree. I mean, compared to so there was a lot that happened in this episode, but it didn't feel rushed or choppy. Whereas I actually, like, thinking back to the first episode, I feel like it went pretty quick and you were like, wow, that's a lot. I mean, and I get there was a lot to set up for this season, but this episode definitely, I think, flowed better.
Does Katrina direct any more episodes this season? Do you know?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I wonder why it took her so long to do it. We're at season 8. I figured, like, I know that they have the executive producer nods, both her and Sam, but I was wondering why it took so long. Like, I was surprised to find out it was the first time.
Yeah, she did some second unit in season 7 to sort of get her feet wet. And I do love that, like, behind the scenes, they're constantly talking about, the production team is constantly talking about bringing in, working professionals, from Scotland and across the UK to really get their feet wet in the television and film industry on the Outlander set. So I love that they also kind of put their money where their mouth was with Katrina too, and saying, hey, this is something you want. We're going to empower you to do it in a safe environment, if you will. But also, like, she clearly led that episode front to back.
I've seen interviews of the fact that when you are a director, it takes so much time.
Yes.
And I think that I saw this, whether it's true or not, but her talking about the fact that she had just had a baby and life, and it was too much for her to take on the acting, directing, and having a young child producing. And so I think maybe she was waiting. I don't know.
Yeah, probably. I mean, look how much time it takes you to sit in that makeup chair just to be able to go out and do a scene, and then to be the director also. It's a lot for sure.
Right.
And she was in a lot of this episode.
Right.
So it's not like she was just directing her, colleagues.
Right.
Yeah.
She was directing herself.
Right.
Yeah. I do want to go back to her talk with Elspeth. But before we get there, I definitely want to mention this new character, Benjamin Cleveland, who is mentioned in the book and then shows up, right? That's his name, right? Ben Cleveland.
Yes.
Yeah. And so
it's a bit jarring. Like, we're going to mention him and then poof, he appears.
Oh, look at that. How about that?
They have to move quickly, I guess, in this season.
Yeah. And he comes across as like arrogant and obnoxious and a little Jack Blackish in appearance. I thought
he gave me like the Browns vibe.
Yes. A little Lionel Richard
like,
Brown.
I'm gonna come in. I'm gonna tell you what to do. Like, I know I'm like the king of this area.
Very aggressive.
And Jamie's like, I said no to George Washington. Like, I don't know who you are, but
Well, I mean, they laid the groundwork for us to not like him based on the
yes.
conversation he had with Claire. I mean, we're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
nobody talks to Claire like that. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me? And then he goes on to talk to Jamie, and I was
Well,
just like, oh, what's going to happen here? And he brings up the Tories and sets up the story that Jamie's been reading about in Frank's book.
Mhm.
well, I mean, and for Jamie too, like he obviously uncovers that he's responsible for those hangings, and that this is a guy that's going to kill people just because of what party they're affiliated with, right? And Jamie doesn't really subscribe to that. I mean, it does raise the issue with Cunningham in terms of like when Cleveland says, you've got a Tory on your land. And so Jamie does have to evaluate that, because when, what was interesting to me is that I like to always see the best in people. So I'm like, maybe he really just isn't part of, the British Army anymore. And he doesn't really subscribe to that. But when he talked about his son dying in his arms, like, is he coming for revenge? I mean, Jamie was on the other side of that fight, that battle where his son died.
Right.
So it creates like this very interesting dynamic with, you've got Cleveland, you've got Cunningham, and you've got Jamie, and Jamie's got to figure all of this out and figure out, who he can trust and who's on the right side, so to speak.
Mm.
Well, I actually, while we're talking about this, I feel like the bear situation is kind of foreshadowing as to what we're going to see, where Jamie's going to expect something of Cunningham and he's going to do not what Jamie wants. Maybe it'll work out for Jamie's benefit or maybe not. But I just feel like that dynamic that just happened, and why I'm thinking Jamie sus is not, is going to be a running theme,
Right. Well, and we were talking about this before we started recording this morning, that Jamie, made it very clear to Amy's son and husband, this, killing this bear is up to you, right? This is your kill. And Cunningham took that opportunity away from them. Cunningham is, oh, I didn't realize, or, hey, I just took care of business. You're welcome. And like you were saying, Heather, it's a challenge to Jamie's authority on the ridge, just as Benjamin Cleveland is challenging him as well. And,
right.
Jamie very specifically says, like, I'll do what's right on my land.
Right.
Yeah.
I looked him up, by the way, Ben Cleveland, and I was like, where have I seen him before? He was in House of the Dragons, the Game of Thrones.
Oh.
He was also in Call the Midwife.
What character in Call the Midwife?
A recent, like they said.
Oh, okay. 15. I'm not caught up.
Yeah. Which brings me to Call the Midwife, also featured one time the woman that plays Elspeth Cunningham, who we get to learn a little more about. I did some deep diving on her also. So, but what are your thoughts about the exchange that she and Claire had when cleaning up Amy's body?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was another scene, also very well directed. I feel like you felt like you were in the room. It was very intimate. Claire is obviously, we've seen her do this kind of work before, where she's, preparing the dead. I mean, it made me think of the Murtaugh scene, where she's taking such great care. But you've got Cunningham's mom, Elspeth, just charging in and making herself right at home. And, Claire's sort of like, where'd you come from? Who are you? But she's helping, and not just helping, like sharing a little bit about herself, being vulnerable, making herself useful. So I think that Claire actually like has this respect for her that she didn't have. And, it's like, I just recently met you and I had one opinion of you, and now you're showing me a different side of yourself. So I thought it was interesting.
I loved when she said, what's your Christian name? Like, can I call you? I thought that was really profound and like a little groundbreaking for them.
But she was funny too.
Yeah.
She was funny.
She was very funny.
Yeah.
I do question her motives though, coming in like that. Is it a sort of know thy enemy type of situation? Like, maybe I'll endear myself to this person and get closer to them.
Well, the Cunninghams to me remind me a little bit of when the Christies come in. It's like, the Fraser's Ridge is there, but right, the Cunninghams come while Jamie and Claire are not there. And so all of a sudden Jamie and Claire come back and it's like, wait, are you the people that are kind of in charge here? Like, what's going on?
Right.
But I kind of got that dynamic a little bit, with both of them, that they kind of give off a little Christie's, like, we know better, we know what we're doing, even just the fact that he built that house for himself on the top of the hill, Cunningham. It's like, that's my house in the last episode. That's my house up there.
Yeah.
Like, well, you took a nice piece of land here.
Right.
Yeah. So the woman that plays Elspeth is her name is Frances Tumulty. I think that's how you say it, or maybe it's Tumulty. I don't know. She's Irish. Interesting thing about her that she was married to Sting. Yep.
When?
For like 12 years. They divorced in 1984 before Sting ended up with Trudy Styler. And so that's kind of crazy.
What?
And
that's like such a crazy fun fact.
I know. Fun fact. And then she also in 1980 starred on the stage with Peter O'Toole in Macbeth.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah. So I wonder now what was the conversation behind the scenes between Francis and Sam?
Yeah.
And was that an inspiration for him after he was done with Outlander to go and do Macbeth?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I
know. I was like, I found that. I was like, yeah, that's a fun fact.
I just think they knocked it out of the park with casting her. And, they'll do that with even some of the tinier parts. I'm thinking about the ship's captain in season 7, where Claire's being held. And that was such a tiny part. And that actor, whoever he was, did it so well. So they really knocked it out of the park with Elspeth. Like, that is who I pictured when I read her character.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Like, that's what I pictured, like, very severe looking. Just a very hard woman who's clearly been through a lot.
There is a scene, or at least we talked about the scene, but there is a line in that scene when they're cleaning up the body that I thought was interesting. And the salt is brought out.
Yes.
And Elspeth says, this is salt to wash away the sins. And to, do you remember?
Yeah, stop the ghost
from walking.
Yeah.
Interesting. With all this talk about Jamie's ghost still being able to walk around and see Claire in the window, perhaps. I thought it was...
and Jamie being haunted by the ghost of Frank.
Right. Like, did someone forget the salt? What are we talking about here?
Right.
Someone needs to go back in time and do it again.
Right. As soon as I saw Tobias Menzies' name in the opening credits, I was like, ooh, we're going to get more Freaky Frank coming from the grave.
I mean, and his voice, talk about a voice that just sends chills down your spine. I had to watch it twice, that part, because I felt it first before I could mentally process it. I was like, what is happening to me? And then I'm like, I don't even know what he just said, because my reaction was just so intense.
Yeah.
Well, and Frank, I don't hear Frank. I hear Jack Black.
Black Jack.
Yeah, like, I just can't.
That's what Jamie hears, because Jamie doesn't know what Frank's voice is.
Right.
Even though it's Frank's voice in the book, the only connection that Jamie has is, he obviously recognizes that they look identical, which, it's obviously the same person. So for Jamie, I think that when he's reading Frank's words, he reads it in the voice of Black Jack.
Probably.
Like, I would think that that's who he doesn't know what Frank
says. That makes sense. Now, I saw a lot of theories going around that they're pretty much the same person. That some people think that Frank
is a traveler. I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I've nuts.
Oh, really?
I don't.
Oh, yeah.
It would make some of the earlier seasons make absolutely no sense. Like, where he's looking for Claire for so long. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, if he were Black Jack, he would have been in that time period with her.
Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't make sense.
If you pull it apart,
continuum, Doc Brown would not approve.
Yeah,
I think it's a reach. I think that he absolutely. We all know this. He knows that time travel exists, and he knows that it's real. I don't necessarily think he's a traveler, but maybe. Look, he was in what is it? The M. what is their like CIA? I mean, he was.
He was in like the
MI6?
yeah, no,
MI6.
Yes.
yeah, like MI5, like the precursor to the MI5.
Yes.
You know,
So,
essentially.
I mean, so who knows what they knew, right? I mean, about.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly think that he knows about time travel. He knows that Claire and Brianna can time travel, and I think. Honestly, I think part of the reason why he wants her to never talk about it again is he's trying to protect her, because I don't necessarily think that you want to be known as someone who's a time traveler because you become a curiosity, maybe even like a test subject or something. So I think
I don't think his intentions are that pure. I think there's
no, I agree. I agree, Heather.
I think total jealousy. Don't ever bring up that man again. You know,
exactly. And that was, you know, as Claire says in the episode, it was the condition for taking me back and raising Bree as his own, is that you do not mention that man. He does not exist. And in the meantime, and you do wonder, is Frank looking for Claire, or is he looking for Jamie? Or is he looking for proof
the
that
man wrote a book. He wrote a book, and he was clearly obsessed with all of it.
Right. I mean, well, do you want me to blow your minds for a second?
He's also been looking for Brianna.
He could have been looking for Brianna. Do you want me to blow your minds for a second?
I'm ready.
So, oh my goodness, Roger's dad, right? So Roger's dad was a pilot, right? That his plane went down on a surveillance mission, and then he disappeared. Do you want to know who sent him on that mission?
It is not Frank.
It sure is.
There's no book, because
there is in the book.
It's
in the novella. It's in the novellas.
I was gonna say it wasn't
in the novellas, and I know Jodi hasn't read them, so that's why I want to blow your minds right now. So yeah, there's this.
So Roger's dad, Frank.
He was sort of his. He came in. So he was a Royal Air Force pilot, right? Roger's dad, and this was Frank. To your point before, you know, being in the precursor to, you know, England's spy agency, and saying, we need you to fly over XYZ area and take surveillance photos.
Wow.
So, you know, and Roger's dad does not know who Frank is. He just knows, okay,
he got orders.
He's a guy in charge in the army coming in and giving me this assignment.
So then when Frank and Claire go to Inverness, and they stay with the Reverend, he would have known, though, that was his son.
Not necessarily, because he just gave the order, according to Julie, right? He didn't actually know the person.
Know who he said.
No, he wouldn't have known.
That's so interesting.
And Roger would have also been when he was like 5 or 6 years old when his father died.
There's no chance that this whole series is based on something that Frank wrote about, like Frank's Harry Potter, where everything played out. Right? There's no chance that they're going to do it that way, right?
This better not go the way of, right? Didn't the series Lost end as if it was all a dream?
Yes.
And that explained. I was like,
if this is all just a book, I'm going to be very sad.
This can't end that. This can't end that way.
No. Another thing, though, you know, is, again, I keep coming back to, how is this all going to tie to the Blood of My Blood series? I still think that, you know, like, you hear, and maybe they're not going to use it, but like we saw that Claire's surprise face was not like a man coming to see her, even though in the previews it was a man's voice, like
saying, hello, Mrs. Fraser.
Mrs. Fraser. Like, I still think that there's a possibility that her father could. I mean, I don't think he would have given up traveling through time to find Claire, based on the Blood of My Blood series.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
Like, I think that we could see him come and meet her at some point. And then that kind of brings you along into wanting to continue to watch Blood of My Blood.
I don't know. There's so much a part of me that think that voice is Frank, but
yeah.
But I just feel like, I mean, in the Blood of My Blood series, though, like they love Claire. I mean, I don't think that they would stop looking for her anywhere.
That's interesting.
I don't know.
That's interesting. And back to your point, Heather, about it being Frank, you know, without. Well, I already gave you a book spoiler. I can give you I can give you another book spoiler. But in Bees, Frank's ghost walks behind Jamie.
Yeah.
There's a character that's not in the show.
Again, we needed salt.
Yeah. Right. Apparently we needed salt to ward off the spirits of people we don't want walking around.
Right.
But yeah, there's a Native American character in the books who tells another character, there's a man with glasses and a top hat that follows your husband around.
Oh, interesting.
And it is one of those chills down your spine moments as a book reader.
I mean, I don't know if this was in the book, but one of the scenes that I really loved, actually was my favorite scene in this episode, was the scene between Ian and Jamie. When
I was just going to say, we need to talk about that. Yeah.
On that like veranda. I thought it was shot so well. Like it felt so intimate. I just wanted to like hug them both because they both had so much emotion. And it was like such a full circle, like where they've come together. Like they really have been, and not that like Ian's his sidekick, but like they've been through everything together. Yeah. I mean, they're family, you know, but for Ian to, you know, reiterate and remind Jamie that he's like a second father to him, and for Jamie to like talk to Ian as if he's his own son, and, you know, for Jamie to, you know, admit that he's envious, but also so happy that Ian gets to experience this, and be able to raise his child from birth and teach him all of the things and show him all of the ways. It was just such a special moment. That's the one that got me like really teary.
Yeah, that was a beautiful moment. I mean, it started with the baby being born. We didn't have the birth scene. We just were like, okay, there's the baby and this beautiful moment. And then having those two men make a connection like father and son out on while drinking whiskey. I did also like it. And then you feel bad for knowing that Jamie never really did get to raise any of the people that he calls his kids, you know?
I mean, he was around when William was a baby, but he wasn't allowed to really be his dad.
Of course not.
He like watched from afar. I mean, that's actually that's painful.
It's even worse. In the books, he actually scales a wall to be able to peer into the nursery just to get a glimpse of him as an infant, you know, and because he was deprived of that with Faith, deprived of that with Brianna. And so finally, you know, his own son, and he has to be separated from him.
Yeah. Was that Rollo's pelt?
I think so. I think that's why Ian ran with it. It seemed like it was something special to him. They don't say it, but that was my assumption.
Yeah. I mean, like as soon as he brought it out and Claire's like, no, you'll give it to the daughter or son that's about to come into this world. I was like, it's got it. They never do say it though, right?
But it looks like the color. I mean, it absolutely. That's what I thought. That's what I thought when I saw that.
Yeah. Did they decide on a name?
No.
Okay.
Still calling them
Augie for now.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that's awesome. I'm glad that everything went well with that because I was nervous. And so the other story that we haven't talked about yet is William going out on a mission to go see if he can find his cousin's body, or at least find some answers so he can bring it back to the family. Now, when they first started the episode, they're in 1775 in London with the three boys together and the little soldiers put inside the jacket. And then we go to like fast forward to 4 years, and he's all of a sudden in Philadelphia at the wedding of Henry and is it Mercy, right? Mercy. And so when I first saw the wedding scene happening, I didn't know what timeline we were in. Like it took me a second.
Yeah, that confused me a little bit too at first.
Yeah, because I almost thought like, where are we? And shouldn't they have been married a while ago? Like I just assumed that they had gotten married. I didn't realize it had taken so long for them to finally tie the knot.
Well, they have to do it in secret.
I guess so.
No, I mean, look, again, it's like one of those things where it's, like they do it for the show, right? I mean, they're bringing this whole storyline in with his cousins that are almost more like brothers, or at least Ben was, he really considered a brother. I thought that was really, a heartbreaking scene. Again, it's just like, celebrating the good in life and the bad in life, right? Like here he is at his cousin's wedding and he doesn't want to tell him on his wedding day. He basically like forces him to. He's like, what is it? What is it? Right. And then he winds up telling him that his brother has passed, which is awful news. But William, like Jamie, I feel like he has such a sense of like
Duty.
And, like, it is my responsibility to like find out more, and I will go and do whatever I can. And again, I knew that when they showed that little figure in the beginning, that was going to be something that became something in this episode. And when he's going through his belongings and he realizes that soldier's not in the pocket, he's like, well, then he would have taken it with him. So maybe he didn't actually die.
Where is he?
Right? Where is he? And then he, digs up that grave and it's not his cousin. So my question is, like, I mean, and you might know from reading the books, like, did he defect? Did he decide he didn't want to be in the British Army anymore? Or did someone break him out? Like, I have no, like, where is Ben?
And why is it important?
I plead the fifth.
And why is it important? It is absolutely the question is, like, they don't show you these things for no reason.
Right. Well, especially this season where they have zero time to waste. Yeah. So nothing is wasted. No character is wasted. No moment is insignificant. Like, everything means.
So this means something.
So I don't
I love the shades of I love the shades of Jamie in William, because he's not traveling in uniform. Mm-hmm. He is representing himself and his family, just like Jamie does, where he toes the line. He's like, I'm not here for one side or the other side. I am here as a family member and a man on a mission. And to me, that is Jamie in William.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to ask you to confirm or deny, but I have a feeling that he's searching so hard for him to find out what happened to him, because he wants answers, first of all, and then goes and finds that person buried in where they thought he was isn't him, and that the uniform isn't him because there's no soldier in it. Part of me feels like he's going to leave that area, still not have any answers. He's going to fall in love with the woman, and start to raise the baby as his own, and then all of a sudden cousin Ben comes back. That's my guess.
And confirm or deny.
That's a possibility. I mean, that would be interesting for everybody involved.
It would create the full drama, and then everything that we've learned about this show with people acting as other people's parents, and then so
right.
Yeah.
And just, this is random, but you mentioning the wedding, I realized this episode had a death, a birth, and a wedding.
Yes.
And an unveiling of a body that was partially buried.
Yes. Which by the way, I think that happens. Does that happen in book 8 or book 9? I don't remember, but they're in the Watchung Mountains. So Jodi, Tracy, and I are sitting here in New Jersey. And so that whole scene where William goes to wherever the Americans are camped out, and where he's looking for the body, is in the Watchung Mountains, which is about 15 minutes, north of here. So
yeah.
Well, the other scene, and again, you might know more from the books, and you don't have to, get too into it, is the scene with Claire at the end with the flowers and the beehive. I mean, I'm a little lost with that, because again, I think that probably comes more from the book. So I'm sort of like, what am I to make of this scene? But it's obviously significant, and I don't really understand why.
Agree. I think that beehive is going to show up in every episode until we are finding out exactly why. Other than the fact that it's, name of the book. And but one thing we do know, they definitely take a departure from the books in so many ways. They have. So, as much as we keep talking about them, they're going to build their own story here.
Yeah. Well, they did build more, though. More of this episode versus last episode was based more on the book.
Well, you've got the bear, like they're, I mean, but
I am interested to see where they go and deviate from the books. So it'll be very interesting, because I'm telling you, I sit here and I'm like, I don't really remember the books. I'm having to do dives on Google Gemini to figure out what did I read. I can't remember. So I kind of watch these episodes, and I knew that this episode followed the book pretty closely, but I am curious to see what left turn it's going to take.
It's very...
Another scene that we didn't really talk about is very brief, but it was that scene or a few parts where it looks like Fanny's going to be Claire's new apprentice. Like, she's almost like the new Marceline. She's like, has her looking at the slides. She's teaching her about things. But, and Claire's also learning so much more about Fanny's experiences. And it's almost like she's going to have to deprogram her, right? In terms of this is not how what I would want for a normal child to have as their experience. And that whole conversation about, yes, you could talk about your sister, but maybe let's not talk about like a whorehouse, and let's kind of move away from that experience. And, you're safe here. We're going to protect you. I loved all of that.
Yeah, me too. I loved it too. It's funny how we're talking about how the books that Diana wrote might be different from what we see in Outlander. So maybe Frank's book has a different outcome than what he wrote about. Also, yeah. So we'll see.
Kind of going back to his motives and what he knew, what he didn't know, what he speculated on. And at the root of what's at the root of it? Is it his jealousy that's at the root of it? Or does he somehow accept that fate, Claire and Jamie are truly meant for each other, and maybe he's actually trying to help?
Right.
I mean, look, for the 20 years that Claire is in the time period with Frank when they're raising Brianna, I really do think in the beginning he was trying very hard to have a good relationship with her. But at some point, he decides that he doesn't anymore, right? And so is that when he realizes in his research that she goes back? So he starts having the affairs. He wants to marry this other woman because he knows that Claire's leaving. Right. So I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to know like the sequencing of that and like not what Frank knew, but when he knew it.
Right. Yeah. So what is it you think that had Jamie read what he read at that moment and then turn to Claire and say, let's go sexy time? What was it that
I think he just needed to feel like she was his, like that this is real. I can hold on to this and you are mine. Yeah. He says that like a couple of times throughout the series. Like he's got a very possessive, like you are mine.
He's got to hold on to something about being a man in the 18th century for as modern as he is. He's like, no, you might not be my property, but you are still mine.
Yeah. Right.
I had such a chuckle watching this with my husband, because in my head, I'm like, what would I do if my husband ever did that to me? And I'm like, I'd probably smack him in the face because I love my sleep. But if Jamie came and did that, I'd be like, no, that's fine. That's all well and good. But I think in that moment, they talk a lot about the physicality of their relationship and how they communicate with their bodies. There's a scene, I don't know if it ended up in the show or not, but where Jamie says to Claire, like, you think with your body, Sassenach.
Yes.
And so they both do. They're both extremely physical. And I don't know if you noticed in the scene, because it's an awkward love scene. First of all, the positioning is super awkward. But also he's not looking at her.
No.
He's looking just away from her, like he's doing this for comfort, but he is distracted.
And I think that it shows like the different ways that their lovemaking represents how they feel. Like it made me think of that scene where she is pregnant with Faith and Jamie,
the blue room.
Yes. And Jamie's like still like, dealing with the trauma from Blackjack, and he hasn't really been able to be himself. And, he tells her that it feels naked, like he's standing behind a blade of grass. I mean, that was like so heartbreaking. And she's, this looming figure over him, and she's like, come find us. Like, and she's just like welcoming him. It's like, their lovemaking is like for all different reasons, right? I mean, we've seen, just the passion where like, in the stable where he throws her up against the wall, and that's just like a quickie, so to speak. We've seen like
that's another piece of possessiveness where that inspired that scene.
But it's like they just have and I just love that it's like they're there for each other physically, and whatever the other person needs at that moment is really what it is.
It actually reminded me a little bit of the scene where they're on the table together after he comes back from the dead, so to speak. And it's like, I'm going to remind you of who I am.
But you're come back to me again. You are Mrs. Fraser.
Yeah. And
scenes. I just love how they're all so different.
Yeah. Which is very real. People. Let's be honest.
It is.
It's very real.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny, Julie, that you said that, that how today, like I can just see the meme right now where it's like Jamie Fraser, I need you, Sassenach, and everyone's like, yes, and then the
Yes.
actual husband, you're like,
You're
no,
like, no,
Have a headache, sleeping.
Right. Don't touch
away
me.
from me right
Right.
now.
Are you kidding?
Do
I
not
have to
come.
get up at 8.
Right. Do not come near me. This episode also had more, I think this could be controversial in a silly way, but more so Jamie saying Sassenach. When he says Claire, when he's bringing in Amy's body into her surgery and he goes, Claire, and there's, more syllables in that name than there actually are on paper. It's one of my favorite intense ways that Jamie brings to that. Like, I really need you right now. I'm going to extend your name into 10 different syllables.
Yeah. In the scene where the boys are saying goodbye to their mom, they have a shot of Jamie and Claire together, and they're just kind of have their arms around each other. And I was like, those two are the embodiment of like security and safety. And if the two of them are saying there's nothing that we could have done to save her, know that there's nothing they could have done to save her. It's like it's just the two of them together. And that's what this show has always been about, right? The two of them. And so I feel like that final scene has to be just the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so.
It was great. It was a great way to end the episode.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts before we wrap up today? Because there's a lot to talk about, that's for sure.
I mean, I just feel like with each episode, it's like I'm so excited to see it, but then I'm so sad because I'm like, now there's only 8 episodes left ever of Outlander. And I'm like, how is that possible? Like, how is that possible?
I actually want to watch it on slow-mo, so it takes longer.
Like half.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that once this season's over, I'm probably going to rewatch the season, and then I probably will do like a rewatch of like the whole show.
The whole thing.
Yeah. I want to reread Bees when I can.
I did see somebody say that they are planning something for the finale to watch. Either they're all going to watch it together or they'll do it in public and with an interview afterwards. I'm looking forward to that.
Kind of like Stranger Things. The cast all got together to watch the finale
I've seen
of
it.
Stranger Things.
Yeah. So we'll see. But I can't wait for next Friday.
And next Sunday.
That's right. Exactly.
And
all right.
Sunday.
Exactly.
Have an excellent day. And thank you so much for watching the Outlandish podcast. If you have any thoughts, comment below and we'd love to tackle them next time.
Yeah. And happy birthday again.
Happy birthday, Heather.
Thank you. Heather. My husband, if he only took notes, he'd know all he has to say is Sassenach, I need you. And then
there you go.
I mean,
I'm in a text stop right now.
Oh, Jodi.